The coffee had gone cold hours ago, but Elena didn't care. She stared at the computer screen, watching waves of data scroll past her tired eyes. Working the night shift at the radio telescope facility wasn't glamorous, but someone had to monitor the signals coming from deep space. Most nights, it was just background noise from distant stars and galaxies. But tonight was different. Eleanor rubbed her eyes and looked at the screen again. There it was, a pattern hidden in what should have been random static. The signal wasn't coming from some far-off galaxy. It was much closer, somewhere near the edge of our solar system. She grabbed her phone and called her colleague James, even though it was 3 in the morning. "You need to get down here right now," she whispered into the phone. "I think I found something." James arrived 20 minutes later, still in his pajamas and looking annoyed. "This better be good." "Elena, I was having the best dream about winning the lottery." Elena pointed at her screen. "Look at this. The signal repeats every 4 hours and 47 minutes. It's been going on for days, maybe weeks. I just noticed it tonight." James squinted at the data. At first, he saw nothing unusual, just the typical cosmic background radiation they dealt with every day. But then Elena showed him the pattern analysis. Hidden in the static were sequences of prime numbers, mathematical formulas, and what looked like a map of our solar system. "That's impossible," James muttered. "Satellites don't send signals like this. And it's coming from way too far out to be one of ours anyway." Elena nodded. "I ran it through every filter we have. This isn't human technology. And James, there's something else. The signal is getting weaker." They spent the next 6 hours analyzing the data. The more they studied it, the more convinced they became that someone, or something, was trying to communicate with Earth. The mathematical sequences were too complex to be natural phenomena. The star charts were too accurate to be coincidence. When the morning shift arrived, Elena and James were still hunched over their computers, surrounded by empty coffee cups and crumpled papers, covered in calculations. Their supervisor, Patricia, found them there looking like they hadn't slept in days. "What are you two still doing here?" Patricia asked. Elena looked up with red, tired eyes. "We found something big." Patricia listened as they explained their discovery. At first, she was skeptical. Radio astronomers sometimes got excited about unusual signals that turned out to be nothing special. But as Elena showed her the data, Patricia's expression changed from doubt to amazement to concern. "We need to contact the International Network," Patricia said quietly. "If this is real, other telescopes around the world should be picking it up too." Within hours, confirmation started coming in. A facility in Chile detected the same signal. Then Australia. Then South Africa. Each telescope that pointed toward the outer solar system found the same repeating pattern. The signal was definitely there, and it was definitely not human. Dr. Rachel Turner from the Space Communications Center flew in that same day. She was one of the world's leading experts in deep space signals, and she'd analyzed everything from pulsar emissions to the faint radio waves left over from the Big Bang. But she'd never seen anything like this. The signal contains what appears to be technical specifications. Rachel explained to the growing team of scientists: energy readings, atmospheric compositions, and some kind of countdown timer. If I didn't know better, I'd say this was a distress call. Elena felt a chill run down her spine. A distress call? From who? Rachel pointed to her analysis on the big screen. Based on the signal's origin point and the information it contains, I believe there's a damaged spacecraft somewhere beyond Neptune. The beings aboard are trying to tell us they need help. The room fell silent. For decades, scientists had wondered if we were alone in the universe. Now, it seemed, the answer had found them. But instead of a friendly greeting or an invasion fleet, Earth's first contact with alien life was a cry for help. James shook his head in disbelief. "How long has this been going on?" Rachel checked her calculations. Based on the countdown sequence in the signal, approximately 847 Earth days. They've been calling for help for over 2 years. Elena stared out the window at the night sky. Somewhere out there, beyond the planet she could see, Intelligent beings were stranded and possibly dying. They had been sending the same message, day after day, hoping someone would hear them and understand. "What do we do now?" Elena asked. Rachel was already on her phone, making calls to government agencies and space organizations around the world. "Now we figure out how to help them. This is no longer just about science. This is about saving lives over the next few days." The small radio telescope facility became the center of unprecedented international cooperation. Engineers, linguists, biologists, and astronauts from dozens of countries worked together to decode more of the alien signal and plan a response. The beings calling themselves the Kethmori had provided detailed information about their situation. Their ship's navigation system had failed, leaving them stranded without the ability to return home or call their own people for help. Their life support systems were slowly failing. Each day that passed meant their chances of survival grew smaller. Elena found herself at the center of the most important discovery in human history. The quiet night shift astronomer who just wanted to study distant galaxies had become the person who made first contact with alien life. But instead of feeling excited, she mostly felt the weight of responsibility. These beings had been calling for help for over 2 years. They had sent their message into the void, hoping someone would hear them and care enough to respond. Now that someone had finally listened, humanity faced its greatest challenge, mounting a rescue mission to save lives that weren't even human. As Elena looked up at the stars that night, she knew the universe would never seem the same again. We weren't alone, and our first alien neighbors needed our help. Commander Lisa Rodriguez had flown fighter jets over hostile territory and piloted experimental spacecraft through Earth's upper atmosphere. But nothing had prepared her for this mission. She stood in the briefing room, looking at faces from around the world, engineers, doctors, scientists, and fellow astronauts who had all volunteered for humanity's first rescue mission to save alien lives. "The ship we're calling Unity will launch in 3 weeks," Lisa announced to her international crew. "I know that sounds impossible, but every space agency on Earth is working together to make this happen. We have people who've been stranded out there for over 2 years. Every day we delay might be their last." The mission seemed almost impossible. The alien ship was farther from Earth than any human had ever traveled. Their technology was completely unknown. Nobody even knew what these beings looked like or if they could survive in the same environment as humans. Dr. Yuki Tanaka raised her hand. She was a biologist who had spent her career studying life in extreme environments on Earth. Now she faced the challenge of keeping alien life forms alive. "Commander, we've analyzed their atmospheric requirements from the signal data. They breathe something similar to our air, but with different pressures and some gases we've never encountered before." Lisa nodded. "What's your biggest concern, Doctor?" Yuki looked worried. "Disease. Our bodies carry millions of microorganisms that are harmless to us, but could be deadly to them. And whatever they carry might affect us too. We're essentially planning to mix to completely different biospheres." The weight of responsibility settled on everyone in the room. This wasn't just about rescuing aliens anymore. One mistake could accidentally harm the very beings they were trying to save, or bring unknown dangers back to Earth. Pavel Volkov, the mission's chief engineer, spoke up in his thick Russian accent. "The technical challenges are enormous too. We're building life support systems for beings we've never seen, based on incomplete data from a signal we barely understand. It's like trying to build a submarine for fish you've only heard about in stories." Despite the challenges, the team worked with incredible determination. Lisa watched as people from countries that had been rivals for decades worked side by side, sharing their best technology and expertise. The alien distress call had done something that politicians and diplomats had never achieved. It had united humanity with a common purpose. Dr. Ahmed Hassan led a team of linguists working around the clock to develop translation systems. They had managed to decode basic mathematical concepts from the alien signal, but understanding their language would be crucial for the rescue mission. "Their communication system is unlike anything we've seen," Ahmed explained during one of their daily briefings. They seem to use quantum fluctuations to transmit information. Our computers can detect the patterns, but translating meaning is incredibly complex. As the launch date approached, Lisa found herself dealing with pressure from every direction. Government officials wanted to know what humanity would gain from this mission. Military advisors worried about potential threats. Scientists wanted to study everything about the aliens. But Lisa kept her focus on the simple truth: there were living beings in trouble, and they had asked for help. The Unity spacecraft was a marvel of international cooperation. Japanese robotic systems, Russian life support technology, American propulsion systems, and European communication arrays all worked together in ways that had never been attempted before. Every nation contributed their best innovations to save lives they had never seen. 3 days before launch, Lisa received the news she had been hoping for. Dr. Ahmed's team had achieved a breakthrough in translation. They had successfully decoded a new message from the alien ship. "Commander, you need to hear this," Ahmed said, his voice shaking with excitement and concern. "We received a direct communication. The aliens know we're coming." Lisa listened as the computer played the translated message. The voice was obviously artificial, created by their translation system. But the emotion behind the words was unmistakable. "We are the Kethmori. We have waited 853 rotations for assistance. Our vessel fails. Our crew grows weak. We did not expect your kind would be the ones to answer our call." There was something in that last sentence that bothered Lisa, but she pushed the concern aside. Whatever the aliens thought about humans, the important thing was that they knew help was coming. The night before launch, Lisa couldn't sleep. She walked through the Unity, checking systems and talking to crew members who were equally restless. Tomorrow, they would leave Earth's orbit and travel farther into space than any human had gone before. Their destination was a damaged alien ship carrying beings who had been alone in the darkness. For over 2 years, Dr. Yuki was in the medical bay, running final tests on the quarantine systems they had built. "Are you ready for this?" Lisa asked. Yuki looked up from her equipment. "Nobody could be ready for this. We're about to meet beings from another world. We don't know what they look like, how they think, or what they need to survive. All we know is that they asked for help, and we're going to try to give it to them." Lisa smiled. "That's exactly why I chose this crew. We're not going out there as conquerors or scientists looking for specimens. We're going as rescuers, trying to save lives." As Lisa finally drifted off to sleep in her quarters, she thought about the message from the aliens. They seemed surprised that humans had answered their call. Tomorrow, she would find out why. Tomorrow, humanity would take its first step toward becoming part of something bigger than Earth. The Unity launched at dawn, carrying 12 humans on a mission that would change both species forever. Behind them, Earth grew smaller. Ahead of them, the unknown waited in the cold darkness between worlds. Captain Sci-Fi had been dreaming of home when the emergency alarms woke him. For a moment, he forgot where he was. Then reality crashed back. His ship was broken, floating dead in space near an unknown star system. Half his crew was gone, and the others were barely alive. The Kethmori had been explorers for thousands of years, but they had never encountered anything like this situation. Their people came from a peaceful world where the weather was always mild, where dangerous animals had been extinct for centuries, and where conflicts were solved through careful discussion. Rather than violence, Sci-Fi pulled himself to the bridge of his ship, the Sanctuary. His remaining crew members looked up at him with tired, hopeful eyes. They had been sending distress signals for over 2 years, never really expecting anyone to answer. Space was vast and empty, and rescue ships were rare even among their own people. "Captain," whispered his communications officer. "Velter, we're receiving a signal. Someone is coming." Sci-Fi felt his heart jump. After so long alone in the darkness, the idea that someone had heard their call seemed impossible. "How far away are they?" "Very close, Captain. They should arrive within hours." As the rescue ship approached, Sci-Fi tried to prepare himself for meeting their saviors, the beings that called themselves humans, and they came from the third planet in this system. From their signals, They seemed intelligent and willing to help. But something about their transmissions worried him. The data they had received about the human homeworld was terrifying. The planet experienced violent storms that could destroy entire cities. The ground shook regularly, splitting open and swallowing buildings. Poisonous gases erupted from cracks in the surface. The temperature could change by dozens of degrees in a single day. "Captain," Velter said quietly, "I've been analyzing their planet's data. According to our classification system, their world would be rated as a Class 12 death world." Sci-Fi felt cold fear creep up his spine. Class 12 was the highest danger rating in their system. It meant a planet so hostile that only the most aggressive, dangerous creatures could survive there. The fact that intelligent life had evolved on such a world meant these humans were probably unlike anything the Kethmori had ever encountered. When the human ship Unity finally docked with the sanctuary, Sci-Fi forced himself to go to the airlock. His crew needed to see him being brave, even though every instinct told him to hide. The airlock opened, and Sci-Fi got his first look at a human being. Commander Lisa Rodriguez stepped through the doorway, and Sci-Fi immediately understood why evolution had shaped these creatures the way it had. She stood tall on two legs, with powerful muscles visible even through her spacesuit. Her eyes faced forward like a predator's, designed for hunting rather than watching for danger. When she smiled, Sci-Fi could see sharp teeth that looked designed for tearing flesh. "Hello," Lisa said through her translator device. "I'm Commander Rodriguez. We're here to help." Sci-Fi tried to respond, but no words came out. This being looked like she could break him in half without effort. Her casual confidence suggested she had never known real fear or vulnerability. Every movement spoke of strength and aggression that had been honed by millions of years of survival. On a world that killed the weak, behind Rodriguez came more humans, engineers, doctors, and scientists. Each one looked just as physically powerful and intimidating as their commander. Sci-Fi's crew pressed themselves against the walls, trying to make themselves as small as possible. "Captain Sci-Fi," Rodriguez asked, looking directly at him. "Are you all right? You look frightened." The translator device conveyed her words, but it couldn't hide the concern in her voice. Despite her predator's appearance, she seemed genuinely worried about his well-being. This confused Sci-Fi even more. Dr. Yuki stepped forward with her medical equipment. "We need to check your health and make sure you're stable before we begin repairs on your ship," she explained gently. But when Yuki approached with her instruments, Sci-Fi instinctively backed away. Her movements were too quick, too confident. Everything about these humans screamed danger to his prey species' instincts. "Captain," Vilter whispered in their own language, "why would such beings risk themselves to save us? Creatures like this could conquer the galaxy. They could take whatever they wanted by force. Why would they travel so far just to help strangers?" Sci-Fi had been wondering the same thing. In his experience, powerful beings use their strength to dominate others. The idea that these apex predators had come all this way just to rescue a few stranded aliens made no sense to him. Lisa seemed to notice their fear. She slowly sat down on the floor, making herself smaller and less threatening. "I know we must look strange to you," she said softly, "but I promise we're here to help. We received your distress call, and we couldn't ignore beings in trouble." Dr. Ahmed approached carefully with his translation device. "Captain Sci-Fi, we've been studying your language and culture from your transmissions. We understand you come from a very different world than ours, but we want you to know that humans help others in need. It's one of our most important values." Sci-Fi looked into Lisa's eyes and saw something he didn't expect. Behind the predator's gaze was genuine compassion. These beings might look dangerous, but they had traveled across space, risking their own lives, just because someone had asked for help. Slowly, carefully, Sci-Fi began to explain his crew's situation. As he talked, he watched the humans' reactions. Instead of showing impatience or aggression, they listened carefully and asked thoughtful questions about how they could best assist. Engineer Pavel examined their damaged navigation system, while Dr. Yuki gently checked the health of Sci-Fi's crew. Each human worked with careful precision, taking no action that might frighten or harm their alien patients, your people. Sci-Fi finally asked Lisa, "You come from a world that our scientists would classify as impossibly dangerous. How do you survive there?" Lisa smiled, an expression that still looked intimidating to Sci-Fi despite her gentle tone. "We survive by working together. When storms come, we help each other find shelter. When the ground shakes, we dig people out of the rubble. When someone is in trouble, we don't ask what species they are or what we'll get in return. We just help." For the first time since the humans had arrived, Sci-Fi began to understand these beings hadn't become powerful by conquering others. They had become strong by protecting each other. Their dangerous world had taught them not just how to fight, but how to care for those who couldn't fight for themselves. As the two crews began working together to repair the sanctuary, Sci-Fi realized that his first impressions had been both right and wrong. The humans were indeed the product of a death world, shaped by forces that would destroy most species. But instead of making them cruel, their harsh environment had taught them the value of compassion and cooperation, perhaps. Sci-Fi thought the universe had sent them exactly the right rescuers after all. Dr. Ahmed hadn't slept in 36 hours. He sat hunched over his translation computer, trying to bridge the gap between two completely different ways of thinking. Every conversation between humans and Kethmori revealed new misunderstandings that could derail the entire rescue mission. The biggest problem wasn't language. His quantum translation system was working well enough for basic communication. The real challenge was that humans and Kethmori had such different experiences of life that they barely understood each other's motivations. "Doctor, we have another medical emergency." Dr. Yuki called from the alien ship's medical bay. Ahmed hurried over to find her treating a Kethmori crew member who had collapsed during routine repairs. "What happened?" Ahmed asked. Yuki looked exhausted and frustrated. "Their immune systems are completely different from ours, even with all our precautions. They're getting sick from microorganisms we carry naturally. It's not dangerous exposure, just the equivalent of a common cold for us. But their bodies have never encountered anything like our Earth bacteria." Captain Sci-Fi watched nervously as Yuki worked to stabilize his crew member. Through the translator, Ahmed heard him whisper to another Kethmori, "The Death World creatures carry invisible weapons in their very breath. How can they live with such dangerous life forms inside their bodies?" Ahmed quickly explained to Sci-Fi that humans weren't trying to harm anyone. "Our bodies developed alongside these microorganisms over millions of years. They're part of how we stay healthy. But we understand they're making your people sick, so we're working on better protective measures." The medical crisis was just one of many cultural barriers they faced daily. Engineer Maria Santos had been working alongside Velter, the Kethmori technician, for 3 days straight. Their approaches to problem solving couldn't have been more different. When Maria encountered a broken component, her instinct was to find a quick solution and move on to the next problem. She had grown up fixing cars with her father, learning that sometimes you had to make do with whatever tools you had available. Velter, on the other hand, would spend hours carefully analyzing each component, understanding exactly how it had failed before attempting any repairs. His 6 delicate fingers could perform incredibly precise work, but he needed frequent rest breaks that Maria found puzzling. "Why do you work so fast?" Velter asked Maria during one of their joint repair sessions. "Don't you worry about making mistakes?" Maria wiped sweat from her forehead. She had been working for 12 hours without a break, something that amazed and concerned the Kethmori. "On Earth, we learn to work quickly because emergencies don't wait. If someone's trapped in a burning building, you don't have time to analyze the perfect rescue plan. You just act." Velter's large eyes blinked slowly. "Your world teaches you that survival depends on speed. Our world teaches us that survival depends on avoiding mistakes. Both approaches work, but they are very different." This exchange gave Ahmed an idea. He began documenting not just the language differences between the species, but their philosophical differences too. Understanding why each species thought the way they did was just as important as translating their words. Commander Lisa spent most of her time talking with Captain Sci-Fi, trying to ease his fears about human intentions. The Keth Mori captain was clearly intelligent and caring, but he seemed constantly worried that the humans had hidden motives for helping Commander Rodriguez. Sci-Fi said during one of their daily planning meetings, "I must ask you something that troubles me. Your species is clearly powerful enough to take whatever you want from the galaxy. Your strength, your speed, your ability to endure hardship. These are the qualities of conquerors. Yet you came here to help strangers? Why?" Lisa thought carefully before answering. This question had come up several times, and she was beginning to understand how alien her species must seem to these peaceful beings. "Captain, can I show you something?" Lisa pulled up images on her tablet, footage from Earth showing natural disasters. "This is what we call a hurricane. These storms regularly hit our planet with winds that can destroy entire cities." Sci-Fi watched the footage with horror. "Your people live through this regularly. Every year," Lisa continued, "and this is an earthquake." The video showed buildings collapsing as the ground shook violently. This is a volcanic eruption. Lava poured from mountains, destroying everything in its path. These events terrify me just to watch, Sci-Fi admitted. "How do your people survive?" "We survive by helping each other," Lisa explained. "When hurricanes come, neighbors help neighbors prepare. When earthquakes hit, rescue teams dig through rubble to save strangers. When volcanoes erupt, entire communities work together to evacuate everyone to safety. We learned long ago that the only way to survive on a dangerous world is to take care of each other." For the first time since meeting humans, Sci-Fi looked genuinely curious rather than afraid. "So your strength comes from cooperation, not conquest?" "Exactly," Lisa smiled. "Our planet taught us that individual strength means nothing if you don't use it to protect others. The strongest human is still helpless against a hurricane alone. But a community of humans working together can survive almost anything." Dr. Yuki joined the conversation, looking more hopeful than she had in days. "Captain Sci-Fi, I think I've figured out how to protect your crew from our microorganisms. We can create a buffer zone using filtered air systems. It will take some modifications to both ships, but I believe we can work safely together." As the days passed, both species began to appreciate what the other brought to the partnership. The Keth Mori's careful, methodical approach prevented many mistakes that human haste might have caused. Meanwhile, human endurance and adaptability allowed them to work through problems that might have stopped the Keth Mori completely. Vilter began teaching Maria about Keth Mori precision engineering techniques. In return, Maria showed him human improvisation methods for emergency repairs. Their combined knowledge was fixing the navigation system faster than either species could have managed alone. Ahmed's translation work was also improving as he learned more about both cultures. He realized that many misunderstandings came from different assumptions about the world, rather than language barriers. "I think I understand now," Sci-Fi told Lisa as they watched their cruise. "Working together, your people aren't dangerous because you want to hurt others. You're dangerous because you're willing to face any risk to protect those you care about. That's why you came for us, isn't it? Because we asked for help. And humans can't ignore someone in need." Lisa nodded. "That's exactly right, Captain. We didn't come here to gain anything or prove how strong we are. We came because someone was in trouble, and that's what humans do. We help." As their ships prepared to depart for Keth Prime, both species had learned something valuable. The universe was big enough for different approaches to life, and sometimes the most unlikely partnerships produce the best results. The rescue mission had become something neither species expected, the beginning of a friendship between two very different kinds of people who shared the same desire to help others and explore the stars together. The navigation system hummed to life for the first time in over 2 years. Captain Sci-Fi felt tears in his eyes as he watched the star charts appear on his ship's display. After so long floating helplessly in space, the sanctuary could finally go home. Engineer Maria stood beside Velter, both of them covered in grease and exhaustion. They had worked for weeks combining human quick-fix techniques with Keth Mori precision engineering. The result was better than either species could have achieved alone. "I can't believe we actually did it," Maria said, wiping her hands on a dirty cloth. When I first saw this navigation system, I thought it would take months to repair. Vilter's 6 fingers danced across the control panels, running final diagnostics. Your improvisation methods saved us weeks of work. But I think our systematic approach prevented dozens of mistakes that could have caused new problems. Commander Lisa watched from the bridge as both crews celebrated together. The fear and suspicion that had marked their first meeting had transformed into genuine friendship. Humans and Kethmori worked side by side, sharing knowledge and stories about their different worlds. Dr. Yuki had solved the medical compatibility issues by creating specialized air filtration systems that allowed both species to interact safely. Her breakthrough had come from combining human immune system research with Kethmori biological knowledge. Neither species understood life as well separately as they did together. Commander Rodriguez, Captain Sci-Fi approached Lisa with an expression she had learned to recognize as deep thoughtfulness. "I need to speak with you about something important." Lisa followed him to a quiet corner of the bridge. Over the past weeks, she had grown to respect Sci-Fi's careful way of thinking. When he said something was important, it usually was. "My people will want to know about humans," Sci-Fi began slowly. "When I return to Keth Prime, I will need to explain who saved us and what your species is like. This concerns me because our initial classifications of your world were not favorable." Lisa raised an eyebrow. "What kind of classifications?" "We categorize planets based on how dangerous they are to life. Your Earth received our highest danger rating, Class 12 Deathworld. In our language, this means a planet so hostile that only the most aggressive, violent species could evolve there." Lisa couldn't help but laugh. "I suppose from your perspective, Earth does seem pretty rough. We do have hurricanes, earthquakes, and predators that could easily harm your people. But that's exactly the problem," Sci-Fi continued earnestly. "When my people hear that humans come from a Class 12 death world, they will expect you to be monsters. They will fear you the same way I feared you when we first met." Lisa understood the problem immediately. First impressions mattered, especially when introducing an entire species to the galactic community. If the Kethmori expected humans to be violent conquerors, it would poison any chance of peaceful relations. "What do you suggest we do about it?" Lisa asked. Sci-Fi's large eyes brightened with an idea that Lisa could tell had been forming for days. "I want to invite your crew to come with us to Keth Prime, not as prisoners or specimens to be studied, but as honored guests and cultural ambassadors." Lisa felt her heart skip a beat. This was far beyond what anyone had planned when they launched the rescue mission. "Captain, that's incredibly generous, but I'm not sure my government would approve of." "Commander," Sci-Fi interrupted gently, "I'm not asking for your government's permission. I'm asking for yours. You and your crew have already proven what humans are truly like. My people need to see that with their own eyes." Dr. Ahmed had been listening from nearby, and he stepped forward with excitement written all over his face. "Commander, this could change everything for humanity. We'd be the first humans to visit an alien world, the first to meet an interstellar civilization." Lisa thought about it carefully. The mission parameters had certainly changed since they left Earth. They had come to rescue stranded aliens and found themselves on the verge of establishing diplomatic relations with an entire galactic community. "What exactly are you proposing, Captain?" Lisa asked. "The Kethmori Confederation includes dozens of worlds and many different species," Sci-Fi explained. "We've been searching for new members who could bring unique perspectives and abilities to our alliance. Your species has qualities that could benefit everyone." Maria looked up from her work on the navigation system. "What kind of qualities?" "Your adaptability," Sci-Fi said immediately. "Your willingness to take risks for others. Your ability to find solutions when everything seems hopeless. These are rare traits in the galaxy, Commander Rodriguez. Most civilizations develop either great technology or great wisdom, but rarely both the courage and compassion that humans possess." Dr. Yuki joined the conversation, her medical instruments still in her hands. "Captain, you really think other species would accept humans as partners rather than threats?" "I think," Sci-Fi said carefully, "that most species in the Confederation have problems that careful planning and advanced. Technology cannot solve. They need people who can adapt quickly, think creatively, and never give up when others are in danger. They need humans. Lisa felt the weight of decision pressing down on her. This choice would affect not just her crew, but potentially all of humanity's future in space. Everything they had learned about themselves and about other species had led to this moment. My crew will need to vote on this, Lisa said finally. This isn't just a military decision anymore. We're talking about representing all of humanity to an alien civilization. Over the next few hours, Lisa gathered her entire crew to discuss Sci-Fi's proposal. The debate was intense but respectful. Some crew members worried about the risks of traveling so far from Earth. Others were excited about the unprecedented opportunity to establish peaceful relations with advanced alien civilizations. In the end, the vote was unanimous. They would accompany the Kethmori to their homeworld. As both ships prepared to depart for Keth Prime, Lisa sent a final transmission back to Earth. Mission Control, this is Commander Rodriguez aboard Unity. Our mission parameters have changed significantly. We're not just returning with rescued aliens, we're beginning humanity's first diplomatic mission. To an interstellar civilization, she paused, looking out at the stars that no longer seem cold and empty. The beings we came to rescue have become our friends. They've invited us to join a community of worlds that has been waiting for someone. With humanity's unique combination of strength, creativity, and compassion, we're going to show them what humans are really like. Elena, monitoring the transmission from her radio telescope on Earth, felt tears of joy as she listened to Lisa's words. The distress signal she had discovered months ago had led to the most important moment in human history. The universe is bigger and more welcoming than we ever imagined, Lisa continued. We're not alone out here, and our new friends believe humanity has something special to offer. We're going to find out what that means. As the two ships engaged their faster-than-light drives and disappeared into the cosmic distance, Earth received one final message. It came not from Commander Rodriguez, but from Captain Sci-Fi himself. People of Earth, your representatives have shown us that strength and kindness can exist in the same beings. The Kethmori Confederation formally invites humanity to join our alliance of worlds. We have been searching the galaxy for people like you, those who answer when others call for help. Back on Earth, Elena looked up at the night sky and smiled. The quiet radio astronomer who had just wanted to study distant galaxies had accidentally discovered humanity's destiny among the stars, and it was more beautiful than anyone had dared to dream.